President Trump has declared a national emergency at the U.S. border with Mexico. Mr. Trump says this allows him to get billions of dollars that Congress refused to give him to build a wall there. But the president is facing sharp criticism about his decision, and he says he expects a long legal battle.
And we will then be sued, and they will sue us in the Ninth Circuit, even though it shouldn't be there. And we will possibly get a bad ruling, and then we'll get another bad ruling, and then we'll end up in the Supreme Court, and hopefully we'll get a fair shake, and we'll win in the Supreme Court.
President Trump says the wall is needed to stop what he claims is a flow of drugs, criminals, and illegal immigrants coming into the country. Here to talk more about that is Dickerson, immigration reporter for the New York Times. Caitlin, welcome.
Thank you.
So, is this more political emergency or a national emergency? Because it took several weeks, if not months and years in office for the president to declare this a national emergency.
I think it depends how you look at this issue. President Trump and many of his supporters clearly do see it as an emergency, but I don't think when they say that they mean something new. As you pointed out, immigration is not a new concept at all, and actually illegal immigration to the country is down. But the fact is that President Trump campaigned on this promise to build a border wall. It's one of the most popular things that he said, and that's why you hear him repeat it so often. And that's why he was really boxed into a corner, right? Because as much as he felt the need to deliver on this promise, he found that it became very difficult to get Congress to support it, and Congress controls the power of the purse. So he was really boxed in terms of how to move forward, and I think that's how we got to where we are today. The national emergency was really the only way that he could describe this issue and could use this issue legally in order to get it paid for.
So you've actually been to one of those border cities, El Paso, recently. What can you tell us about what you're really seeing there on the ground?
Sure. So just to situate people, El Paso is on the border in West Texas. It's right below New Mexico. And it's a very immigrant heavy, it's a very highly trafficked port. It's very busy, and I think it's one of those classic border cities that you hear about quite often, where people move back and forth along the border every day. You know, my Uber driver one day told me he lives in Ciudad Juarez in Mexico because it's more affordable, and then he crosses the border every day to work.
Are you seeing any of what the president is talking about or describing?
No, I mean, I would say one of the most surprising things, maybe the most surprising thing about President Trump's State of the Union address was this idea he put forth that El Paso had been one of the most dangerous cities in the country before a wall was constructed there, a fence was constructed there about a decade ago. It's just not true, and you just don't see it borne out every day. It's a very safe city. I mean, let's not pretend that there's no impact on El Paso from immigration. It's true that when people are processed through the immigration system and they're released, there's an effect on the local healthcare system for a few days. Typically, then people move on to their destinations within the U.S. But really what I saw more than anything was a safe city, one that's been that way for decades, and one that really rallies around the immigrant community. So the sort of volunteer work that's needed to help support the new immigrants, there's no shortage of it.
Congress did pass a bipartisan agreement, a border security package. Not money for a wall, but what is in there?
So the border security package, I think one of the reasons that you saw Congress be able to come together in a rare instance and pass it is that it's not terribly controversial or surprising. You saw some additional money for the Border Patrol facilities that are in remote areas. Those are the types of facilities that the 2 young migrant children had passed through during Christmas time who died. And I think those deaths drew a lot of needed attention to those facilities that needed some support. In addition to that, you see some more money for healthcare and infrastructure, and you see money for additional ICE detention beds. So I think that was probably one of the most contentious things, is that while we've all been focused on the border and asylum and the wall, interior enforcement, those interior arrests have continued to go really strong.
So that's not getting reported as often.
I think it's because we're inundated. I think, the public is inundated, and quite frankly, journalists are inundated because so much has changed. I've covered immigration for years, and this has just been an incredibly busy period where it becomes difficult to cover everything with the degree of, urgency that it requires.
Well, Caitlin Dickerson, thank you so much. Brilliant points made. Thank you so much.